Good evening. My name is Dylan Johnson, and I have came to this board meeting to talk about some issues that have arisen to the remote workplace. I want to bring this up to keep the service safe and help boost work hour productivity, not only in the office but also in the hybrid or remote settings. So the overview for the day is the introduction of the CIA triad, security flaws of remote work and how they violate the CIA triad, violations of design principles, and then recommend the design principles for remote workers. So the CIA triad is how cybersecurity makes sure that everything works for in a environment. So the first thing we'll go over is confidentiality. This is something we want to focus on and make sure our customers have full confidentiality of the information. So confidentiality is keeping information safe and private to where only the user and the employee who has a need to know has access to this information. So no one else should be able to see this information, and this will allow the customers the peace of mind that we are keeping their information and their personal information identifiers safe and at heart. Integrity is when data is on the move and at rest is the same data that has been inputted and has not been tampered with. So when we are dealing with integrity, we want to give the customers the peace of mind that this information that you have put in is encrypted when it's on the move and when it's at the rest, and that no one has modified it or used it for any information or tampered with the information besides the customer themselves. And availability is the readily information is available to the customer or the organization. This allows the customer at any time of the day to log on and be able to see the information that they have inputted, which is their right. So the first issue I want to bring up that deals with the remote workplace is weak passwords. Not being in the office arises the concern of passwords being hacked. From not locking the computer when they are away from the desktop to using the same password for business and personal users. When they use the same password for multiple websites, it gives the hacker the ability to wonder if the website they use for Netflix is the same password they use to log into the workplace. Also, having workplace sticky note to their desktop, if a hacker is already in their system, they can view the sticky note and see what the password is. And being away from the office means they are less likely to lock the desktop at home. If they have guests over or if they're doing something else, someone else can hop on the computer and see what they are dealing with. And this becomes a huge issue on the at the office it's less of an issue, but at home it becomes bigger of an issue because we cannot monitor whether or not they locked their system or not. So how does this violate the CIA triad? It allows hackers to view the personal information, and hackers could sell that information on the dark web. This is going to be a occurrence that we see more than once in these violations. So what we recommend to combat this is implement a stronger password policy and lockout after 3 tries. This password policy will contain 8 characters minimum using capital letters, numbers, and special characters. Another risk I would like to bring up is phishing emails. In a home environment, the individual has not only access to their work email, personal email, but they also have access to their cell phone, which will allow them to get a thing called smishing, which is phishing over SMS or text messaging. Clicking their website will spoof a website, and this could download a virus to the computer or just download the information they input. If we're going with the former instead of the latter, this could allow them to download a virus to the computer or phone, The virus could cause a man-in-the-middle attack. They could gain a foothold to cause an advanced precision threat event, which is basically when a hacker already has a foothold in the thing. So they look for ways to get even more information. And this is a way that they initiate an advanced precision threat, or a APT. Or they could use the computer as a bot in a DDoS attack, which will allow them to completely shut down a network for a period of time. Uh, One phishing email can cause a lot of problems when it comes to the CIA triad. We lose confidentiality due to man-in-the-middle attack and APTS. Integrity, since the information can be edited while in transit or while at the halt through an APT attack. Availability can be violated if one of our employee computers is used in a DDoS attack as a bot. And then if we are targeted with that attack, it could spike the server network and cause the network to go down. And this will cause not only employees, but also the users that want to be able to see the data at any time. So this will be a huge CIA triad violation. And best way to combat this is if you receive an email from the company, or any email in general, call the IT network to and forward it, or report as phishing, just to be on the safe side. Software is another big violation that can happen, especially with home networks. We don't know what kind of software they have on the computers. Some software can contain viruses too, like LimeWire, and can put a computer at risk for worms. And this can cause multiple security violations if not combated as soon as possible. Software has a lot of unsafe implication that can hinder businesses from allowing hacker the ability to snoop through files to modifying files. This can also allow them to lock the person out of a file unless they pay a ransom. The best way to combat this is to delete any unnecessary software and download an antivirus and monitor your computer. So the CIA triad violation that I want to go into is unsafe software can lead to hackers in your workstation. This can cause botnets or man-in-the-middle attacks. Integrity. If the user can modify the data, so will the hacker be able to too. Which means if the user has full permission to modify data on a file, the hacker will be able to also. Availability. A hacker could use software and then have it cause a ransomware, which will make the user not able to access the information they need to do their job. Which means a hacker could use a software like LimeWire, and then when a person downloads a file or something, they can use that file to snoop through the computer, see that this file is used for work, lock that file behind a ransomware, and then when the time that person goes to log in and knows that they cannot access the file without paying a fee, they will not be able to do their job, and they won't have the availability to modify the data or use the data or see the data that they need to do the job. Software patches, especially security patches, are pushed out because the industry has found an issue with the previous patch. If not updated, this could cause hackers to exploit the software or operating system and allow them to gain the control of a computer. The best defense against this is to turn on automatic updates. Outdated operating system and software can open a back door into your system. This can cause a hacker to exploit that backdoor and use it to have access to your system. So the best way to combat this is to set up your softwares through automatic updates. Open Wi-Fi network is unsecure because it allows everyone the capability to see what you are doing. It allows anyone to get on your network, allows everyone access to your home items, and allows everyone to see what files are being shared. File sharing allows an individual to on the same network to see what files you are sharing. This allows them not only the possibility to read, but also write if you do not change permission. Some recommendations is setting up a Wi-Fi password and kicking every device off your network. Then change file permissions to only you if you have file share. So, on the permissions, only allow yourself to have read, write, full access to everything, and then deny everyone else any permission to any of the files. And then every other week, make sure you update your password, and I'll always kick off any device that you do not recognize. So name your devices as they get put onto the network. As the world becomes more technology advanced, so does the increase of backdoors into your security system. A printer can store your last printed item that you sent it wirelessly. The smart home assistant can store your debit cards or your credit cards can be used to control other devices in your home. So Internet things include Amazon Alexa, smart TVs, Google Echo, smart thermostats, smart fridges, and etc. And these Internet things can contain sensitive information. If your home Wi-Fi network is unsecured, then a hacker could get a hold of your printer's last printed item and see what was printed. If that item happens to be work-related holding personal information, the confidentiality is gone. The biggest issue of Internet things come from weak passwords and weak Wi-Fi passwords or no password. So the best way to combat this is make sure every single Internet things item you have has a secure password and that your Wi-Fi has a strong password and uses WPA2 security. Port access. Usually port 3389 is used for remote desktop protocol. And it is a common knowledge hackers could sit on that port and intercept data as it comes in or out of that port, what causes a man-in-the-middle attack. So hackers can view the information as it comes to the port, and a hacker can modify the information and then send it through. So as you send the information, the hackers could be sitting on that port, see the information, edit it, and then resend it through before. And if you're not constantly monitoring your ports, you will not notice this right away. And the best way to protect against unwanted port access is to lock that port in the firewall and only allow certain individuals past that port. The lack of encryption between the remote desktop and the office makes it easier for hackers to easily read the information that is on the file. So unencrypted file sharing is no encryption of files in transit, and the information then becomes easily readable. So the violation of file sharing is basically a man-in-the-middle attack can violate makes it where the confidentiality is not there because the man-in-the-middle attack can read or edit any information, and the integrity is not there because you can, if it's not encrypted, then it can be overwritten. So the best way to combat this is to encrypt the files that you send through, and do not have company policy to not send or receive any unencrypted files. Violation of design principles. So some of the violations of the design principles that came up is minimize trust surface and isolation. By not following isolation, we open up the service to hackers. So if we isolate the process of the remote workers, we can make sure an advanced persistent threat does not happen. Unsecured Wi-Fi and non-secure passwords on the Internet things and home workstation violates the design principle of minimizing the trust surface. As users, they should always not trust other devices they use. So minimizing the trust surface means do not automatically trust your Internet thing items. So if you get a new Amazon Alexa, just always don't trust it. Always think there might be a hacker listening in on your Alexa. So make sure it's secure. Do not give it any sensitive information. Do not speak sensitive information around it. And isolation, the best policy is to isolate the processes as they come in and make sure that the information is not violated in any form, like the integrity is still there. Some recommendation and design principles to use are least privilege. Remote workers do not need full access to all files on the service. This will protect the data if the individual gets hacked, and we can give more permissions as needed. But at the time being, this least privilege for everyone, and this will protect the server as much as possible. Fail-safe defaults will stop hackers from using a remote worker computer to access any files the remote worker does not have access to. So if the remote worker does not have access to a file, the fail-safe default will stop them from going in. There's nothing they can do, like they can't password their way through, they can't crack it, they can't brute force it because they just don't have access to it. So the fail-safe in place will stop the hacker from being able to get in. And then if we recommend to the workers to turn off all functionality of the system except for what is vital to work with, then this can close a lot of back doors into not only their system but into our server. Another thing we can do is recommend a different computer that is mostly for workstation. So a software hack does not affect the workstation. So a different computer can cause a solution to help them in a lot of the violations that can come through remote desktop working. And here are some of the references, and here's a continuation of the references. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.